طيبا مباركا على نعمة الإسلام، فهذه النعمة العظيمة التي أنقذنا الله بها من الظلمات إلى النور، ومن علينا بها بخير خلقه محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in a hadith, "Man salla alayya wahidatan, sallallahu alayhi ashra." Whoever read and send one salam to me and give one salam to me, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him 10 salams. Man salla alayya wahidatan, sallallahu alayhi ashra. So whenever we hear the name of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we should read salam and send salam and salutations in abundance by reading Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, or we can say sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent us to this world for a test. We are tested in many different ways. Sometimes we are tested through hardship, difficult things, harmful things, but also we can be tested through goodness as well. Allah can give you so much wealth and you are tested through wealth. He can give you children and you are being tested by giving you children. He can give you some talents and skills and you are tested through those skills and talents, because Allah wants to see how you deal with them and how you utilize them. So therefore Quran says, وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. We test you through difficult things, the bad things, and also we test you through good things. So sometimes you may have a good life, but this good life it can be a form of test for you. وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And to us is your return. So everybody is going to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we are tested through hardship and also through goodness. But we are in the center of a test in general. Now, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He bestows and He gives us a lot of favors and gifts, we must utilize them correctly, moderately, according to the way of Allah and according to the Sunnah of Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. One of the things we as Muslims do, many of us, if not all, is israf, the wastage, extravagance, tabdhir, doing things more than necessity. Of course, bukhul is also disliked in Islam, makruh. Bukhul is the stinginess, miserliness. Islam doesn't support the bukhul, miserliness. But as Muslims, we should be in between al-israf and bukhul, the middle path, ummatan wasata, the ummah of the middle. So israf is one of the things that many Muslims do. And the scholars of language, they say, هو تجاوز الحد في كل فعل يفعله الإنسان. It is to transgress and cross the limits and bounds in whatever a human being does. That's israf. Crossing the bounds, doing more than the limits. وهو في الإنفاق أشهر, but it is more common and famous in spending, when it comes to spend. So Al-Quran Al-Kareem says very clearly, يا بني آدم, O children of Adam, خذوا زينتكم عند كل مسجد. Adorn yourself, beautify yourself when you go to masjid, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا. Eat and drink. إِبَاحَةُ الْأَكْلِ وَالشُّرْبِ. Eat and drink. You're allowed to eat and drink, but with the condition وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. Don't waste. Don't do extravagance. Don't make food more than you need. Don't cook more than you need. Don't do shopping more than you need. We have a habit of consuming. We have a habit of spending, many of us, and we get a lot of comfort by spending. And وَهُوَ فِي الْإِنفَاقِ أَشْهَرٌ. So Allah says, O children of Adam, adorn yourself and beautify yourself when you go to masjid. Eat and drink, but don't waste. وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. Verily and surely Allah doesn't like and He doesn't love the people who waste. And we find Quran also says in another verse, وَلَا تُبَذِّرْ تَبْذِيرًا. Don't waste, don't do tabdhir. إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ. Went to the extent that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is labeling the people who waste and do extravagance, al-israf, and they do things more than they need in their life. Then Allah is saying, إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ. They are the brothers and brethren of the shaitan. وَلَا تُبَذِّرْ تَبْذِيرًا. That shows the importance of taking care of the resources that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala He gave us in this world. Whatever they may be, it could be water. And in fact, water is the most important resource. وَخَلَقْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created everything from the water. And water is life. But many of us, we use so much water. We consume so much water. When we have bath, we use so much. Some of us, we spend an hour in the bathroom. When we do wudu, also we waste a lot of water. So, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is saying, "Inna Allah kariha lakum thalathan." Surely Allah the Almighty, He disliked for you, He doesn't want and He doesn't like three things from you guys. Number one is qeel wa qal. So and so person said, Fulan said, Allan said, and no evidence and no proof. All you just hear, oh, I've heard, somebody told me, oh, I've heard from somebody, I've heard from someone. Sami'at. When you ask what's the proof? No one can say. Just now I've been told only. And we spread rumors, we spread kadhib, the lies, without even verifying the sources. And we are responsible for everything that we do. إن السمع والبصر والفؤاد كل أولئك كان عنه مسؤولا. Your sam', your listening, your seeing sights, and your hearts, everything are questionable, will be questioned on the day of judgment for whatever you do. So Prophet ﷺ saying, قِيلُ وَقَالْ. Allah doesn't like it. People gossip, rumors, kathratul kalam, and backbiting, slandering, causing problems, trouble between two. وَإِضَاعَةُ الْمَالِ. Second thing He doesn't love and like is wasting the wealth. Allah gave you money not to spend however you like. There is a system, there is a procedure, there is a method, there is a way of spending. You should give the due rights of the poor people, and you also use what you need. But again, also live a life according to the standard, according to the wealth Allah gave you. If you're a millionaire, don't wear a ripped cloth, for example. This is also wrong. In Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He bestows and blesses His servant, He wants to see the athar ni'mah, the sign of the ni'mah in his lifestyle as well. But again, without extravagance. وَإِضَاعَةِ الْمَالِ, wasting money. وَكَثْرَةِ السُّؤَالِ. And another thing Allah doesn't like is that too many questions, unnecessary questions, not for learning. You can ask for learning, it's fine. Su'al nisf al-ilm. Questioning is half of knowledge. But not to prove and not to show your knowledge and not to show your talent, as many of us we do. We ask too many questions sometimes to prove the other person is wrong, just for that sake. And the other one is we want to show that we are also knowledgeable people. We ask questions to actually show ourselves. And we have that. Allah doesn't like too many questions. You can ask questions for learning with adab, with respect, with manners, no problem. But anything other than that, it is disliked, too many questions. And also jidal is another thing disliked in Islam. Al-mira, the arguments, too many arguments for no reason. And there are people, mashallah, they enjoy arguments and for hours and hours, and it destroys the brotherhood, ukhuwa. For no reason we argue sometimes. And this is just to prove ourselves we are better and we know better, we are on the right side. Sign of also takabbur, sign of arrogance and pride. To win every discussion and to win every argument. even though the person is on the wrong side. So Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala doesn't like the kathrat su'al, too many questions. One of the things he said, also wasting mal, the wealth, the money, the water, electricity. Sometimes you think, oh, I'm in the masjid, so what if I use the electricity? I'm in the mosque. Doesn't matter if you're in the mosque. It still belongs to an organization. It belongs to a country. Maybe others can benefit. We don't think that way. If you're in a hotel, for example, we also waste a lot of resources in hotel. We say, no, I paid for it. So I'm going to use tissue as much as I can, as much as I need, and water. Also, I think it is part of the sensible Muslim and believer that we use also economically, even though we may be in a place, public place. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you in return, because we have to be sensible. There may be other people who may benefit. Just because you paid doesn't mean we waste. We can't waste even though we paid. So in those places, we must not also waste. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the Noble Quran, don't follow the people who are wasters, those who transgress, those who bound the limits, across the limits. وَلَا تُطِيعُوا أَمْرَ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. Don't follow the affairs and the ways and matters of the wasters and those who cross the bounds. Quran also says, the Noble Quran, وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى حَقًّا. Give the relatives the due rights. We have relatives in back home. Many of us, we come from a Muslim country, for example, or maybe another country originally. And we have, honestly, close relatives are suffering and struggling and striving and starving. And we hear, mashallah, we buy branded clothes. Maybe my cousin brothers or cousin sisters, they are dying without the basic necessities, basic milk, pure water. Honestly, all of us, we have those people around us. But we are buying clothes, for example, costing £2,000. A pair of shoes, £3,000, just because of a name. Yes, we can buy the good quality items. There's no problem. A product that is a good quality, we are allowed to buy. That will last with us for a long time. But just for a name, you spend 3,000, 5,000. Allah will ask question on the day of Qiyamah. And people around you suffered. People, Muslim world, check, for example, some of the Muslim countries. And not only just even non-Muslim countries. Human beings are suffering around the world greatly. Yemen, Syria, we don't want to say the names. Like, we know the countries, even like all over the Muslim world, you see this poverty. وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى حَقًّا. Give the relatives the due rights. Those who are close to you, give them zakah, give them sadaqah, give them charity, give them what they need, help them to get married. وَابْنَ السَّبِيلِ. And passers-by, sometimes the homeless people, passers-by, they can be in need. Although some of them are pretenders, but there are people who are genuinely in need. وَابْنَ السَّبِيلِ وَلَا تُبَذِّرْ تَبْذِيرًا. But don't waste as well, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Noble Quran. Even, for example, look, in ibadah, see, this is a very interesting thing in Islam, that even in ibadah, we are not allowed to do too much, excessive ibadah, excessive things. أمرنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بعدم الإسراف في الوضوء. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, don't waste in wudu. فقد مر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بسعد وهو يتوضأ. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he passed by a companion called Sa'd, and that Sahabi companion was making wudu. فقال ما هذا السرف. He said, Prophet ﷺ said, what is this wasting? Oh, Sa'd. We put the tap on, and mashallah, it's very powerful, and lots of water is going. And I remember when we live in some of the places, when we live in some countries where there's water crisis, even in Egypt, for example. When I was staying in Egypt for studies, sometimes water is to get cut off. And once I remember 3 days there was no any water. And you can feel the importance of water during that time. And I know there are countries people travel and people walk for miles to get like a bucket of water. We see this in of course, their reality. So ما هذا السرف. What is this wasting, oh Sa'd? فقال أفي الوضوء إسراف. He said, is there any wasting in wudu too? In ablution, do we have any israf? قال نعم. Then he said, yes. وَإِن كُنْتَ عَلَى نَهْرٍ جَارٍ. Even though you are next to a flowing river, the water is passing and coming from the other way around, water is coming constantly. Don't also waste. Look, this is the teaching of the greatest messenger, the greatest human, Muhammad Rasulullah, protecting the best, the favors, protecting the resources that Allah gave us in this world. Because this is again a test for you. He gave you things and He's testing you. You become a millionaire or a billionaire, it's a test for you. You may be a faqir, a poor, a needy, it's a test for you too. You may have no children, it's a test for you. You may have so many children, it's a test for you. You may not have wife, it's a test for you. But you have also wives, that's a test for you. And same for the sisters. So we are in a place of test, and we have to always be careful how we do and how we deal with the things. There are some things we do a lot of wasting. For example, shopping is one thing. A lot of our sisters tend to do this, a big percentage. Majority of the consumers, they say the sisters in shopping centers nowadays, and they tend to spend a lot and pressurize husbands as well. So, not of course all, but many. So shopping, also we need to spend sensibly and not buy more than what we need. A lot of time we buy so much food, vegetables and fruits, and they get wasted and they get bad and they go off. Also, another problem that many of us, part of our culture, that we make so much big feast, food. Big walima. And we do this even though there's about 3-4 people. It has become جزء من الثقافة, part of some culture and tradition. But I think we need to review the situation and see if is it correct really. Because we make, for example, a big sheep or a cow or for example a camel and then camel, and then what happens is most of it are not even eaten. Most of the food are not consumed and they go to waste. If there are people who will be eating, no problem, fine, this is okay. But if we think that this food will go to waste, then we have to actually make according to what we need. And we have seen some nations, the successful nations, they actually cook according to the need. They also buy according to the need. Successful people who are most, you can say, businessmen, like some businessmen in some, I don't want to say the names, you may figure out. But they do things economically. But without being, again, Islam is balanced. Without being miserly, bakhil. Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like the bukhul. Prophet, he sought help and he sought refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from bukhul. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-bukhli wal-jubn. From the bukhul and miserliness and also the cowardness. So shopping is another thing. Also cooking, as I said, is another thing that normally we tend to waste. Eating more than we need is a problem. All of us, almost. It's something that we struggle, especially in the month of Ramadan, because the night is very short and many of us will eat a lot. And honestly, we have to find a way to keep a balance. So eating more than needed is also israf. Just for the sake of enjoying the food. We eat also to survive and to live in this world, but not just to enjoy only. So eating more than need. Sometimes we see we leave the tea, coffee, half, we have a bit of it and then we leave half of it. Many of us, we do that. And it's like a style, it's like a fashion. Leave some below, at the bottom. So this is again wasting. And we also understand from the Sunnah of Prophet, he would eat and drink everything proper with clean, he would clean everything. Even the plate would be tidy. So leaving tea and food sometimes. A lot of time we waste tissues, brothers and sisters, tissues. You see in the mosque, mostly happens in public places. So much tissue. And don't forget that these come from tree. And trees are also the source of Allah. And we are not allowed to waste the trees because they're beneficial, produce oxygen, help people to live in this world. So many of us, we waste tissues, public, especially in public, and also at home sometimes. Electricity is another thing. We leave the light on in public places as well as at home. Sometimes we don't need the lights, but we keep the light on for whole night in many, for example, in some places. Electricity we waste sometimes. Also, papers. If we are working in offices, we see people waste the papers. They get one, maybe they just need to write one line, and they'll get a paper, and then they'll rip it off and throw it, just because there's so much there available. But as I said, even though you have enough available, we must not waste the papers. Papers are coming from trees again, the origin, and we must look after and take care of our nature. And so overall, we know our situation. We must not do more than what we need in everything. So israf must be avoided in everything that we do in our life. And inshallah, through this we become a sensible Muslim believer, sensible human being, and also a citizen. And inshallah, through this we'll be successful, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in return will give lot of barakah. I've seen the most successful rich people and businessmen who give in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who really help people around them. Allah gave them money and they know it's an amana to them. It's an amana, they're keeping the amana. And some of the people say, I hear in the Arab world, al-malu malullah. You know, when they ask for money, tasawwul. They say, al-malu mal belongs to Allah. And it's a very clever way of asking for money. So they say, it's not yours really, it's Allah's mal. So this mal is actually is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it belongs to Allah. He just kept us for a while with us. Today we are rich. For example, in a few years' time, we'll be gone. Our children will say, we are the millionaires. And then they will go, their children will be the same. And that's how everybody live, come and go, but everything remain in this world. So inshallah, let's be sensible and let's not waste. And without wasting, instead of wasting those things, there are people who are dying every single day. We know this around us, our own relatives maybe, our close people, those who are struggling and suffering across the world. And there is enough to give. And I see people, when we travel to the Muslim world, we see people are struggling with the house crisis. One of the biggest problems in some parts of the world, people don't have like good houses. And there's issues, the waterfalls, and people don't have even like a healthy environment to live. Sometimes I see families live in one room. I see with my own eyes, there are families living, whole entire family, big children, girls, like mature girls and boys, are all living, and mom and dad in one only room. And this is the situation. So inshallah, let's find ways to help other people and be there for other people. Islam is a religion of selflessness, putting others first, the priority for others, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me the ability, first of all, to practice upon what has been said, and also you, brothers and sisters, wa shukran jazeelan. Thank you so much for listening attentively. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث أصلح لنا شؤوننا كلها ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين. اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا وأصلح ذات بيننا. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى. اللهم انصر إخواننا المسلمين المظلومين المستضعفين في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم انصر إخواننا المسلمين في فلسطين وفي اليمن وفي سوريا وفي العراق وفي أفغانستان وفي كل مكان يا إله الكون يا رب العالمين. اللهم حرر أراضينا من أيدي المستعمرين، خاصة مسجد الأقصى المبارك يا إله الكون يا رب العالمين. اللهم آمنا في أوطاننا، آمنا في أوطاننا. تقبل جميع الإخوة في هذا المسجد التاريخي. اللهم تقبل جهود جميع الإخوة في هذا المسجد. اللهم اجعل جهودهم في ميزان حسناتهم واجعلها سببا لنجاتهم يا إله الكون يا رب العالمين. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. آمين.